Hi, I'm Dr Vivek Arunachalam. Welcome to the Diplomatic Notes. I would appreciate you to watch, like and subscribe this videos. Thank you. At the European Cultural Parliament's 2024 session at Graz, and we have with Par Stenback and the President of the European Cultural Parliament. As we have been there for the last 2 days at this session, I would briefly like to ask you, what has been the theme of this conference and what have we discussed indeed?
Well, there have been several themes of this conference. Of course, there is concerns about, we expressed these concerns in a resolution which is just being published, and there we refer to different things like the risks ingrained in the conflict which is going on in Ukraine, and the repercussions for people of culture, artists and so on. And of course we discussed artificial intelligence also, which is a matter of today, and its influence on education in schools and so on. These were the major themes we referred to, and we came back to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which is a lot of concern to this organization and its members. No Russian were participating in this meeting. Some of them are back in Russia, silenced, and some are in diaspora today. So this is the situation.
So you have had your experience as in the Finnish foreign ministry, and
long time ago.
And long time. It could be long time, but that's what is calculating as the experience which you have seen across in these years. Now, somewhere down, when I, as a very neutral observer, when I came for the previous parliament, the ECP's meeting at Kaunas, I had put down one statement. I had put down the statement that at some point of time, the stalemate which was there between Ukraine and Russia, it's not moving further anywhere.
Yes.
And at some point of time, it's only negotiations that can solve this. But at that point of time, there was slightly a little bit of an animosity or an unrest that I could just feel in the conference as well. But then after 2 years, at some point of time, there is the reality which is slowly just striking out. But in this 2 years of this reality which has come down, there were more decisions taken prone through emotions rather than rational self, and thereby in these 2 years there has been quite a lot of loss of people, livelihood, cost, which has been at point. So where do you think so that this will really move ahead? And if it's a pessimistic approach which is going to be there, then where do you see this, that the cost, who bears the cost for all these things?
The costs are high, that we all agree on, and it's very difficult to see now, just now, a negotiated solution. I have seen no signs of that, and in this discussion here, nobody has demanded that now we should enter into that the parties should enter into some negotiated peace. So we are far away from that still, and as a Finn, I don't believe that there is an easy way out of this. Some people in my country says that the solution will be on the battlefield, and if that is not happening, we will experience a long stalemate in the fighting. Of course, some members here also expressed the opinion that we have to look at the methods of mediation, and in that case that the fighting would for some reason stop, in any way, how to rebuild the trust if possible, between those who have been fighting. Especially this is a question how we can trust Russia, who started this conflict, and how we can build a new security model or in Europe in which Russia could be some part, a trusted part of that. With the present regime in Russia, doesn't seem to be a very realistic. So those who believe in the need for regime change in Russia are probably right when they say that the present regime has invested too much in winning this war. And if it doesn't happen, which I hope it will not, then we will experience a long drawn-out conflict. But hope is always alive, and if that new situation would arise, I think our members in this small parliament would engage very much in starting a new, let's say, new negotiated, let's say, cultural peace, so to say, with the help of culture.
But sir, if I may ask you this question, what was it that was possible by Angela Merkel when she was in power? Angela Merkel when she was there in Germany, when she was in power in Germany, and what was it that she could achieve? But after her moving out of power, there has been no single leader who could negotiate with Putin and bring him down on the table. Because do you somewhere feel it's she who was one individual who was actually balancing the act, or after her going out of power, now Europe is not finding that one single leader who's also acceptable down as the party of negotiator?
Well, I think Angela Merkel has also acknowledged that she was a naive in some. She believed more too much in what Putin was saying during her time, and she, I think, is clearly disappointed what was happening. The same is with our former president Niinistö, who kept up for a long time a dialogue with Putin. He was the last one of the European leaders who spoke with Putin. And he has bear witness that Putin's approach, Putin's way of discussing change during that period, the last few years. And he saw a clear change in his let's say, mental approach to war and peace. And so also he has expressed his not only concerns but also his regrets that process. He was in a good hope that by upkeeping this dialogue with Putin would bear fruit, but it didn't. So you are speaking about leader. President Macron has made some moves in that direction, but also he has come to the conclusion that Russia is not ready to accept that it cannot win the war. That it will not win the war.
What do you think if by any chance there's a different team that sits down to negotiate, like for example Viktor Orban or Giorgia Meloni, and at the same time having Macron in the team to bring him forward and to put forward the negotiations? Do you think that might work a little bit?
Well, let me remind you that there are also some African leaders have approached Putin and Zelensky to see if there would be an. Also, they have been forced to admit that there is no opening today. So I am afraid that I can't tell you that there would be any other European leader who would now take the risks of, so to say, making a move which would then not succeed, that would fail. So, of course, one could say that even honorable failing is a good try, but it may give the wrong signal to Putin, that because as a Finn, we know from our common history with Russia for 700 years that the Russian political culture is based on strength. If you are ready to negotiate and discuss, this is a sign from a Russian point of view that you are weak. And weakness is not the thing we need in this. You cannot negotiate a good peace, honorable peace, a real peace which is kept without having strength of there was much talk about the Korean model also, that we saw how that we would just a ceasefire and then we would. I don't think that is the time either for that.
Now, if there is one last question that I can ask you to touch upon this subject, would be that how do you see, because the whole European Union is now dependent on the US election as well, because if Joe Biden to Donald Trump coming inside, that's going to drastically impact all these years of the relationship which has gone, obviously not just with the US but also with Russia. And now, how do you see this?
Two things. Last night, the American Congress adopted the big package for Ukraine, which will give a signal that the Congress is even if Trump would be elected, which is a possibility, but not sure at all. I still believe personally that Biden will win. Regardless of popularity opinion polls, but that is a matter to be seen. But even if he would win, the Congress is the final voice in. And now what this vote in the Congress also showed, that there is resilience also in the political class of United States. Of course, Trump could affect that, but it would not change the basic. I don't think that the Congress would agree to some, let's say, mediated peace which would put Ukraine to the ground or something like that. So I think the present situation will continue regardless of the outcome of the elections. It's not only the presidential elections, it's also the elections to the Congress which are decisive.
Now, to also ask you a few questions on what we discussed out over here, we also touched upon the topic of the artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Because the AI's influence.
Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in those matters.
But then, seeing this across, AI is definitely having a positive impact and a negative impact. Now, how do you see this, that it's really going to impact on the cultural part of it? Because there are a lot of artists over here. And how do you think that?
It remains to be seen. We have to follow the situation very. There are copyright issues, there are issues of workplaces and so involved, and the jury is out. There can also be some positive, outcomes of the artificial intelligence, but now many people are skeptical. How will it affect? And also, as a former politician, I can see the repercussions for political propaganda, that there can be tries to influence in different countries, in many countries, outcome of elections by that. So we have to be careful. And the European Union is creating rules which I hope that will be effective in restraining those, let's say, bad sides of artificial intelligence. More I cannot say on this, but the jury is out, as I said.
Now I have just one last question that I would love to ask you is, you had been the foreign minister for Finland, And there was a time period when you had issues back then, which was the areas of concern for Finland. And back then, what was the area of concern? And today, when you see, what are the issues of concern for Finland?
For today?
For today. Because what was the area of concern that was there at that period of time when you were in power?
Well, I was Foreign Minister during the Cold War. The situation was completely different in the 80s. And it was the end of the Soviet era also, so we could see the signs, Gorbachev was coming in and so on. That was a time of change, you could see. Now there is a stalemate. There is time of change, but not in the same sense. We are entering into we are already in a new Cold War. For Finland, the Ukraine conflict was a real challenge. We were forced to change our security policy by joining NATO, and together with Sweden. So this recreated and changed completely the Finnish security policy, which had been based on a different good neighborhood relations. We had three pillars in our. One was good relations to all our neighbors, including Russia, and another pillar was the strong belief in a world order. And two of these pillars were broken down, so we had to change. The third pillar we kept and is upkeeping. That was a strong national defense. So only one pillar was remained, and the two others were broken, so to say. So we had to change, and now we are trying to adapt to a new situation. As member of NATO, this is only 1 year old. And we believe strongly in the European Union and its future, and we will try to be in the middle of things also, both in the European Union and NATO. But as a small country, economy is a challenge, so we have to also invest in that in order to keep our national identity and our national security.
Finnish Prime Minister who was there, Sanna Marin, who was there. And now she has changed over to the new government which has come into. Now, how do you see the current government who's taking up the changes, especially?
Well, it was an interesting period. As an observer and commentator, we had my party, a small party, was a Liberal Party, was part of the former government, the center-left government, where Marin was Prime Minister, and many were very surprised about her role change, so to say. But she's a young person, and she has a lot before her, and she made a very fast career in politics. And in my time, the careers were longer. And now we have a right-wing government. My small party is also a member of that government, who's facing big economic challenges, the budget cuts and so on, and which lead to a certain amount of social unrest. But I hope that we will get over that period quite fast, in 1 year or so. And then we have elections also next year, not parliamentary ones, but still we see how the political field will emerge. There might be changes, but unity around security policy is very strong. The support for the present policy is around between 85 and 90%, so we have national unity in that sense. Domestic politics goes on as before.
There's a considerable amount of growth of right-wing in Europe, which is growing. AFD from Germany, and again, but now the right-wing is not the concern, because right and conservatives and Democrats, it's always been there. But then the objective of the right-wing, which is now rising, is a kind of a very polarizing objective, which is coming inside, which is against quite a lot of challenges, which obviously are fueled from the socio-economic challenges. Now, how do you see this as a cause in Europe and as a cause in Finland?
Well, to a certain extent, we are following the European trend. We have our right-wing, more populist-minded party in the government, and it seems to be rather strong in that. But nevertheless, it's between 15 and 20%. It's will never reach a majority. So this is a wave in politics today, and tomorrow we can have a different situation. I don't believe that the European Parliament elections will bring so extreme changes as some people are predicting. Let's see in the election result, and then we can draw the conclusions what it will do, let's say, the major tendency in European politics. Okay.
Thank you so much.